ठीक है, I think everybody has joined except Dhwanis, so we can start. So very good morning to all. Let me share the screen first. One second. Okay. ठीक है, am I comfortably audible to all of you? स्क्रीन विजुअल है? ठीक है, ओके. Okay, right. In last class we were discussing about CBCB norms. What are the norms regarding respect of noise? So we already discussed कि in residential area it should be less than 55 decibel during daytime. If we take night time, it should be less than 45 decibel. If construction activity is going on and the sound exposure limit is less than 55 decibel, then only you will get clearance to start your work, right? So we discussed in detail already. Let me quickly explain again. We also discussed this dBA, decibel, A weightage and L equivalent, right? And it should be less than 55 in case of residential area and 45 decibel in case of night time. Night time would be 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. right? Now we also discussed a little bit about dBc. Obviously dB is C weightage. If you see in electrical engineering books or maybe electronics also, one second, let me join. Yes. If you see, you may find dBu also, dBV, dBm, because decibel scale is also used in electronics and electrical when we measure voltage to express power ratio or amplitude ratio. We know decibel scale is kind of ratio. We take a reference and then how much it is above than that reference level. So if you find dBu, dBV, so don't get surprised because this is also used in another areas. But we are concerned with sound, acoustic in built environment. So we will have dBA and dBc mostly, and we will be referring mostly dBA. We have dBz also, Z weightage. So let's see. And we also spend some time on this graph, and we know this is sound pressure level, which is mentioned in dB obviously, and this curve contour, this is called equal loudness contours. This contour shows the loudness of sound. As we know, sound intensity that we already discussed in second class, and sound pressure level or sound level, which is in dB, that is physical entity, right? Physical entity means that can be measured by any kind of app or equipment, as we used sound level meter. So what actually sound pressure is in air, right? But our perception is little bit different than the actual one, right? So this is physical phenomenon, physical entity, the decibel. And if we say phone, that is unit of loudness, or we can express in dBA, we give A weightage, that is according to our perception. So again I will describe in very brief manner. This is sound pressure level, this is frequency of sound, and as we know, for lower frequency our human ear is less sensitive to sound. So at 1000 Hertz we see, let's take an example at 80 dB. At 80 dB we have 80 phone, and this curve shows the loudness, equal loudness curve. But at 20 Hertz, and if we take 80 dB, but loudness is almost equals to 30 phone, or we can say at 1000 Hertz 30 dB will be equal to 80 dB at 20 Hertz, right? So these curves need to be corrected. So what we can do, we can write 80 dB at 20 hertz will be equal to almost 80 minus 50. We can write 30 dBA, because 80 dB at 20 hertz will not feel loud, but at 1000 hertz 80 decibel is quite loud. We know 80 90 is quite louder. If we say 50 35, that is kind of faint, and if we go beyond 100 and 110, that is extremely loud. That will be painful. But at 20 hertz 80 dB is not very loud. It will be almost equal to 30 dB at 1000 hertz. So we can write 80 dB equal to 80 dB minus 50, and that will be equal to 30 dBA. Now this dBA is based on our perception of ear, that is behavioral entity, dBA, or phone loudness, how we feel. If we take example at 100 frequency and 80 dB, so this will be somewhere here, and this is almost equal to this 50. If we say at 100 frequency and sound level is 80 dB, in that case we can write 80 dB equals to 80 minus 30, we can write maybe 20, right? 20 or 30. I will give you the chart, and I will also show you the chart in NBC. Actually, last class I showed you a chart which shows how to convert dB to dBA. So don't worry about that overall chart. We have sound level meter, and you can easily keep it at dBA, because we are more concerned in this area. 1 second. Yes, we are more concerned in this area, 80, 90, 100 or 110 dB for interior works, right? If somebody is dealing with aircraft noise or maybe higher level of noise, in these areas you can see these curves are not so much of bended like this. So in this area so much of correction is not required as at lower level. So if we say at 20 hertz sound level is 140 dB, and if we do correction, it will be almost equal to 120 phone. That means minus 20 is required. So in this area we use dB C weightage. In this area, middle and lower case, we can use dBA. So obviously for interior work, as an interior designer, we will use mostly dBA, right? Decibel A weightage, because we are more concerned about how we feel the sound, how loudness we feel the sound, right? Okay, let me move forward to next slide. Yes, this is the graph which shows the correction of that. This is A weightage. This graph shows, suppose I am at 20 dB we are taking or measuring the sound, and it comes to 80 dB. So we will do minus 50, 80 dB minus 50, that will be almost 30 dBA in A weightage. While in C weightage we will do only minus 8 or minus 9 in dB. So that will be dBC scale. Anyway, we are concerned with dBA. Now we have another more term, SEL, sound exposure level. We will not discuss in detail, but I thought this table will be very useful for you. Please respond. My voice is clear to all of you? आवाज क्लियर आ रही है?
Yes sir.
ठीक है.